Blah. Oh, there we go. Good morning. Please stand. We're going to sing All Creatures of the Earth and Sky, number 203, 4 verses. All creatures of the earth and sky, come, kindred, lift your voices high. Alleluia, alleluia. Bright burning sun with golden beam, soft shining moon with silver gleam. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Alleluia. Swift rushing wind so wild and strong, white clouds that sail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia. Fair rising morn in praise rejoice, highest stars of meaning find a voice. Alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Cool flowing water, pure and clear, make music for all life to hear. Alleluia, alleluia. Dawn's flame of fire so strong and bright, and bless us with your warmth and light. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Embracing earth you day by day, bring forth your blessings on our way. Alleluia, alleluia. Herbs and fruits that richly grow, let them the glory also show. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. I've missed that. Man, glad to hear you say morning again. Well, welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. Good to see some old friends back after a summer break. Yeah? Did you guys have fun? Yeah? Good. Can't wait to hear about it. But not now. This is where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. I want to begin as usual by welcoming all of you today, all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that helps make you who you are. And this includes those who are in the room with us, those who are here usually on Sundays with us, and maybe some who might be joining us for the first time. I don't see any visitors today, and it also includes the many of you who are streaming with us this morning as well. Or this morning here. Some of you are streaming from the east side, so this afternoon, wherever you're at, whatever time zone you're in, welcome to one and all. Don't have any special announcements today, so let's take a few minutes to greet one another. Hey, you! Oh my gosh, look at you! You must have grown. Oh my gosh, you must have grown a foot! You must have grown a foot! Come here, let me see how you. Oh my God, what did you eat while you were gone? 6 now. That explains it. You guys are heavy. You look big and heavy. You've been eating rocks. No. Eating rocks. You're heavy as a rock. That's a special guest. You can't take him out, though, because he's a surprise. I don't want you to know who he is till I tell you, because it's a treat, okay? Sound good? Oh, come here, come here, come here, come here. Nice. I miss you so much.
Was it for moving on?
Huh?
Was it for moving on?
He's taking a nap, so. That's for short people to stand on.
Am I sure?
Well, you're short. You're tall for your age, but you're shorter than me. But someday you'll get there.
You want to Nope. No. Okay, I guess not.
Yeah. I'm used to seeing you with your hair cut short. You've got your hair has grown out long, hasn't it? Looks good, man. Looks good.
Yesterday we went to the Chiefs.
You went to the Chiefs? How was it? Good. Did your team win?
No, we watched the Chiefs game.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Mom made my hair go back.
Looks good. You look cool with your hair long, man. Oh, I guess I should stop. Probably time. All right, more opportunity to visit after the service, but let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For the opening reflection, I invite you to consider the words of Lama Surada. With every breath, the old moment is lost. A new moment arrives. We exhale and we let go of the old moment. It is lost to us. In doing so, we let go of the person we used to be. We inhale and breathe in the moment that is becoming. In doing so, we welcome the person we are becoming. We repeat the process. This is renewal. This is life.
Please stand. Join me for Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, number 34. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given my love within, the professed soon turns strangely thin. Come, spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed, by this we worship and are freed.
right, we are now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. We begin, as we have been for some time now, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that part of the world that are suffering from the violence and destruction and war and everything else that's going on there. And I know there are an awful lot of global crises right now we could probably list, but if I were fair to everyone in the world, we would be here for a very long time. So I'm going to just move into our moment of silence on behalf of those you might be thinking of, and you'd be welcome, of course, to mention anybody you'd like at this time. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
This is for the offertory. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. Been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. La 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 la. After 2 days in the desert sun, my skin began to turn red. After 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed. And the story it told of a river that flowed made me sad to think it was dead. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, because there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Thank you, Madeline. And it is now time for our story for all ages, so I invite anybody who would like to come up front here to do so. Glad to see you guys back. When's school start? Does school start Monday for you or Tuesday, I guess? Monday's a holiday, right? You guys back to school on Tuesday? Yeah? You looking forward to it? Okay, well, good. All right. I brought a very, very special guest today. If you guys have been wondering about a specific question, it's going to be answered today. Yes? Bigfoot is real. Hey, Nan, how's it going? Oh, he's really cool. Yeah, are those people? Those are people. Oh, man, nice. What are those things? What's that? Those things down there. Those are children. Children? Oh, man, you mean they're real? I thought they were a myth. Wait till I tell all my friends. Oh, no, children are real, and it turns out Bigfoot is real too. So we're very happy that you're here. But we are curious about you. Please tell us a bit about where you come from. Well, I come from deep in the woods, yeah, where giant trees touch the sky and animals roam around freely. Man, it's serene and it is beautiful. Wow, you make it sound great. That's amazing. But now you're here in the city. I'm reminded actually of a story about a city mouse and a country mouse. Have you guys heard that story before? Oh, the one you got from the library. So it's worth retelling. It's been around for a couple thousand years and we're still telling it. So it's got to be a good one. I've never heard it. Okay, well, here you go, okay? Once upon a time, there were two mice, and one lived in the peaceful countryside, like me, like you, and one lived in the bustling city, like me. And each mouse was curious about the other's life. So the country mouse invited the city cousin over first. Well, that was nice of them. Yes, very nice. People in the country tend to be nice. Yes, they do. All right. But the city mouse was not very impressed with the simple food and quiet life of the country mouse. So he said, "You must come and see the riches of the city, cousin. There's so much to eat and do." And so the country mouse packed up and went to the city. He must have liked it, huh? Well, he kind of liked it. He was amazed at all the fine foods and the luxuries, but he also faced a lot of dangers and a lot of unrest, like noise and especially a terrifying cat. The peace of the country started to sound a lot more appealing to the country mouse. So that's where he went, back home. Say, that story kind of reminds me of us, does it? Yeah, the forest is my home. Yes, it is. It's peaceful, but it has its own challenges, does it? Well, we have fresh air and we have streams and many animal friends, but it can be lonely at times. I see. Well, here in the city, we have a lot of exciting things happening, right? We've got, just like the city mouse experience, there's always something to do. There's places to go. There's lots of friends around, but it's not always calm and quiet, is it? Yeah, sometimes we miss the serenity of nature ourselves. You know, that story, Them Two Nice, teaches us that neither life is perfect. Well, that's true. Both the city and the countryside have their qualities, and their challenges. Yes. I guess it's all about where you feel most at home. Well, that's true, Bigfoot. And it's important to remember that neither is better or worse, they're just different. And we can learn so much from each other's experiences no matter how different we are. Yes, and you're welcome to come and visit me in nature anytime, okay, kids? I can't wait to tell my other dick feet that you're real. They're going to freak out. Okay, well, thank you, and please do come back and visit us whenever you'd like. Okay, and until then, please remember to tread softly and leave few footprints wherever you go. Thank you, Bigfoot. See you next time. We'll now sing our children out. Oh, we're going to sing? Yeah, man. Hold on.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
For the meditation this morning, words from Kevin Aucoin. Every morning when I wake up, I can choose joy, happiness, negativity, pain, to feel the freedom that comes from being able to continue to make mistakes and choices. Today, I choose to feel life, not to deny my humanity, but to embrace it.
If you want money in your pocket and a top hat on your head, hot meal on the table and a blanket on your bed, well, today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. Well, I'm going to New York City and I'm leaving on a train. If you want to stay behind and wait till I come back again, well, today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. If you want to go where the rainbows end, you have to say goodbye. All your dreams come true, baby, up ahead. It's out where your memories lie. Oh, the road is out before me, the moon is shining bright. What I want you to remember as I disappear tonight. Today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. If you want to go where the rainbows end, you have to say goodbye. All your dreams come true, baby, up ahead. And it's out where your memories lie. Well, the road is out before me, the moon is shining bright. What I want you to remember as I disappear tonight: today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here.
Thank you, Madeline. Oh, sorry. You stepped on my toe. I couldn't help it. It's big. Bigfoot. Got big feet. Born a poor young country boy, Mother Nature's son. All day long I'm sitting singing songs for everyone. Sit beside a mountain stream, see her waters rise. Listen to the pretty sound of music as she flies. Find me in my field of grass, Mother Nature's son. Swaying daisies sing a lazy song beneath the sun. Whoa, Mother Nature's son. These are the lyrics to the Beatles' 1968 hit, Mother Nature's Son, which was also sung by John Denver and became the title of his biography shortly after his death, or a biography shortly after his death. It expresses an ancient yet enduring sentiment that people have always imagined about those living closest to nature, about the ease, how happy and peaceful their lives are, sitting there listening and singing lazy songs beside a mountain stream and lying in a field of grass beneath the sun. If only we could all get back to that, then life would be good. Life would be as it should be. Life would be as it was meant to be. Indeed, this is how it was, or at least how we imagine it was, throughout most of human history. Modern humans have been around 200,000 to 250,000 years, but human civilization has only been around the past 5,000 to 6,000 years, a fraction of the time since the advent of agriculture enabled us to grow and store food, liberating us from our nomadic hunter-gatherer existence. During the past century, most human beings have migrated from the countryside into cities, which has led to the sudden increase in megacities, cities with over 10 million people. The third megacity was added in 1973, Mexico City. Today, there are 37 megacities on the planet, with 9 more just a few 100,000 away from becoming megacities. Most of the world's population has moved into cities. We miss nature. We miss it so much that our national parks are overcrowded and visitors must now, in some cases, be granted limited access. So many of us are leaving for the countryside on our weekends that we're creating hours-long traffic jams on the way and on the way back from our congested cities. So much for finding peace and solitude. The stress going to and fro can be worse than just staying in the city to begin with. Yet, as gigantic as our modern cities have become, this idealization of the country life has been around almost as long as civilization itself. Psychologist Erich Fromm believed that the development of the human race, as far as we have any knowledge of it, can be characterized as the emergence of man from nature, from mother, from the bonds of blood and soil. Yet man, meaning humanity, of course, has never been satisfied with this separation. In the beginning of the history of humanity, though thrown out of the original unity with nature, still clings to those primary bonds, Fromm says. He finds his security by going back, on holding on to these primary bonds. He still feels identified with the world of animals and trees and tries to find unity by remaining one with the natural world. This would explain our mad rush into the wilderness and parks in our spare time, as well as prove this impulse's ancient origins. But if we add to this Plato's influential rejection of the real for the ideal, we might also consider that what we think is true of nature might be based on an unreal, idealized image of what abandoning civilization truly means. His mentor, Socrates, was renowned for eschewing comfort, and people marveled at his indifference to extreme cold, heat, hunger, and thirst, a reputation Plato emphasized and perhaps exaggerated in his writings and introduction of Socrates. So whether his reputation for dressing simply, going shoeless on snow and ice, and standing for hours outdoors in one spot quietly thinking were entirely true or not, Socrates became the inspiration for four very real philosophical schools: Epicureanism, Stoicism, skepticism, and the one that I want to focus our attention on today, cynicism. When we hear the word cynic today, we think of someone who is innately dubious and critical of most things, a rather pessimistic sort. But in the Greek language, cynic means canine. Cynics were people who may not have appreciated being treated like dogs, but their intention was to live like dogs by avoiding all the comforts of civilization in order to live naturally like the other animals. If they were cynical by today's definition, they were cynical of living a civilized life. The reason they chose the dog as their symbol rather than a wild animal is precisely because it is an animal that had been domesticated. The cynics wanted to free themselves of the trappings of domestic living by returning to a natural state, whether such was real or imagined. Cynicism was inspired by a philosopher named Antisthenes, another disciple of Socrates. After the death of his mentor, something changed in Antisthenes, and he came, as Bertrand Russell explains, to despise the things that he formerly valued. That meant, as Russell goes on to explain, he would have nothing but simple goodness. Did you know that that was the choice? You could have nothing but simple goodness? I'm cynical. He associated with working men and dressed as one of them. He took to open-air preaching in a style that the uneducated could understand. All refined philosophy he held to be worthless. What could be known by the plain man. He believed in the return to nature and carried this belief very far. Far enough that his student, Diogenes, the official founder of cynicism, took his teacher's near hatred of luxury even further. Now, his father had gone to prison for defacing coinage, and in his footsteps, Diogenes renounced all money. He decided to live like a dog, Russell says. He rejected all conventions, whether of religion, of manners, of dress, of housing, of food, of decency. One is told that he lived in a tub. Cynics in general were known for going about naked, sleeping outdoors, eating raw food, and other uncivilized behaviors. According to Professor A.C. Grayling's recent History on Philosophy, Diogenes' chief tenet was that one should live simply and naturally, indeed like a dog, and he accordingly urinated and defecated anywhere in public. And they hadn't invented those little bags yet, so it was not pretty. He ate whenever he happened to feel hungry, and observed no taboos about what could be eaten, including taking food from the temple sacrifices. Diogenes was against all convention, and he believed happiness comes from returning to our natural state, by which he meant, according to Grayling, living and acting without shame, shamelessly, and spurning the laws of society and the state wherever they conflict with the simple, natural, truly virtuous life. I won't be taking questions, sorry. I've got a lot to get through here, but afterwards it'll be okay. So compared to today's nearly 46 megacities, we would think that ancient Athenians were already close enough to nature. But even then, many longed to escape the trappings of civilization and believed that returning to a natural way of living would make them happy, and that comfort, luxury, and convenience was making them miserable. If I were to say as much from a psychological point of view rather than a philosophical one, I'd say they long to return to a primitive state of mind and to an unconscious kind of experience, to live less like domesticated dogs and more like some wild beast. But humanity, for the most part, did not return to nature, and civilization continued to advance, and, as the cynics may have predicted, would soon experience 1,000 years of misery and stagnation. But was this civilization's fault, or because civilized people had already chosen to mostly remain in an unconscious, primitive, superstitious state of mind and began having rejected the reasoned approach to living that the early philosophers demonstrated before Socrates and his disciples came along to insist that acquiring happiness meant getting into ourselves rather than seeking to understand the physical world around us? So let's jump ahead 2,100 years to the time of the French Revolution, the time of philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Although he is often counted among the Enlightenment philosophers, Rousseau should more rightly be considered a counter-Enlightenment thinker because of his rejection and abhorrence of reason, a primary characteristic of Enlightenment thought, along with his disdain for science, individual rights, and freedom. Reason is what engenders egocentrism. Reason is what turns man upon himself, Rousseau said. In The Social Contract, Rousseau advocated for state religion instead. As philosopher Stephen Hicks succinctly explains, according to Rousseau, the state cannot pursue a policy of toleration for disbelievers, or even view religion as a matter of individual conscience. It absolutely must, therefore, reject the Enlightenment's dangerous notions of religious toleration and separation of church and state. Instead of reason and facts and freedom of belief, which had reemerged during the Renaissance and flourished during the Enlightenment, Rousseau, like the ancient cynics, advocated for a return to what he believed was humanity's natural state, a state that had been ruined by civilization. Instead of reason, he based his beliefs on his feeling that God exists, Suffused with the sense of my inadequacy, he said, I shall never reason about the nature of God. Ignoring the Enlightenment philosophers, he said, I took another guide, and I said to myself, let us consult the inner light. It will lead me astray less than they lead me astray. One may very well argue with me about this, but I sense it. And this sentiment speaks to me stronger than the reason combating it. And this is how endarkenments begin. By choosing to ignore what reason and science tell us about the world outside ourselves in favor of our unconscious desires, emotions, and primitive beliefs. Like the cynics, Rousseau blamed humanity's problems on the emergence of civilization. As Hicks further explains, Rousseau started his attack at the foundation of the Enlightenment project, reason. The philosophers were exactly right that reason is the foundation of civilization. Civilization's rational progress, however, is anything but progress, for civilization is achieved at the expense of morality. Culture does generate much learning, luxury, and sophistication, but learning, luxury, and sophistication all cause moral degradation. The root of moral degradation is reason, the original sin of humankind. Indeed, it was Rousseau who gave us the idea of the noble savage, the idealized human being driven by an innate goodness that is uncorrupted by civilization. Recognizing, however, that we cannot return to nature, we must recreate its conditions by eliminating reason and freedom and tolerance and imposing the will of the state or its sovereign upon its citizens so that they are loyal to it, to the collective. Bertrand Russell says that Rousseau's social contract can be stated as each of us puts his person and all his power in common under the supreme direction of the general will. And in our corporate capacity, we receive each member as an indivisible part of the whole. Being someone who abandoned sound reason, Rousseau easily argued that it was right to execute those who disagree with the collective will, as expressed by the sovereign, and that by creating such a harsh society, it would somehow restore civilized man's natural freedom. Whoever refuses to obey the general will be forced to do so by the entire body, he said. This means merely that he will be forced to be free. Arguing that it's possible to force someone to be free is as illogical as saying 3 gods are the same as one. But such is the kind of thinking resulting from the sentiments rather than from reason. All of this sprang from Rousseau's presumption that natural man, the noble savage, was better and purer than civilized humanity. The following is his perhaps less poetic version of Mother Nature's son. I see him satisfying his hunger under an oak, quenching his thirst at the first stream, finding his bed under the same tree which provided his meal, and behold, his needs are furnished. The life of the noble savage. Never have to leave the tree. To him, like the cynics and perhaps like those fleeing in cities on weekends and vacations today to overcrowd the forest, lakes, and national parks, natural man had an easy, happy life. Yet domesticated man, like domesticated animals, said Rousseau, grow soft, whereas in the state of nature they are fit because they have to be fit in order to survive, which contradicts the vision of simply sitting under a tree and getting your food, your shelter, and your water. But is this so, or is it part of an idealized and romanticized belief in the good old days? in the good old days that never existed. In his book, The Rational Optimist, Matt Ridley calls our modern image of the noble savage, our healthy, happy hunter-gathering ancestors, a Rousseau-esque ideal, explaining that the data which is inconvenient to our nostalgic myths indicates that the great majority of hunter-gatherers were in near constant states of tribal warfare. 30% of adult males died from homicide, killed with spears and darts and arrows. The victors often abducted women who survived their deaths. They were also subject to famines and had to resort to infanticide in difficult times. A variety of untreatable diseases and parasites shortened their lives and made many suffer miserably. In his book, Enlightenment Now, Harvard professor Steven Pinker considers the romanticized vision of our prehistoric ancestors part of counter-enlightenment, the movement by some, including many academics, to reject, as he puts it, reason, science, humanism, and progress. Who can be against these things? Pinker describes them as tribalist rather than cosmopolitan, authoritarian rather than democratic, contemptuous of experts rather than respectful of knowledge, and nostalgic for an idyllic past rather than hopeful for a better future. Of the movement itself, he says, no sooner did people step into the light than they were advised that darkness wasn't so bad after all. That they should stop daring to understand so much. That dogmas and formulas deserved another chance. And that human nature's destiny was not progress, but decline. Pinker calls this disdain for civilization and especially the advances and improvements in the human condition it represents progressophobia, which he says has become widespread. The skepticism regarding Western progress that was once confined to a very small number of intellectuals in the 19th century, he explains, citing the work of sociologist Robert Nesbitt, has grown and spread to not merely the large majority of intellectuals in this final quarter of the century, but to many millions of other people in the West. Yet in his best-selling 2011 book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, Pinker counters with facts. In addition to pointing out that the pacification process was a 5-fold reduction in the rate of death from tribal raiding and feuding, the consequences of effective states exerting control over territory, he tells us the civilizing process was a 40-fold reduction in homicide and other violent crimes, which followed upon the entrenchment of the rule of law and norms of self-control in early modern Europe. The humanitarian revolution is another name for the Enlightenment era abolition of slavery, religious persecution, and cruel punishments. The long peace is the historian's term for the decline of great power and interstate war after World War II. Following the end of the Cold War, the world has enjoyed a new peace with fewer civil wars, genocides, and atrocities. And since the 1950s, the world has been swept by a cascade of rights revolutions, civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, children's rights, and now animal rights. Yet the negativity bias, as he calls it, convinces many of us that things are worse today than ever, and only getting worse. We prefer to romanticize how much better and easier it was in the past when it wasn't, in the forest and jungles where it wasn't. And we do so by subjugating reason, science, and facts to our nostalgic sentiments and imaginations, which we aggrandized as faith or spirituality and the like. But in addition to rejecting reason, The common disdain for human civilization also rejects something else about human beings that we have considered true of us for thousands of years, that we are fundamentally social animals. We need each other, and we need to be with others. Social animals create societies, and societies become civilizations. The lone noble savage, akin to the romanticized rugged individual, do not reflect who we really are. Born utterly dependent upon the affections and care of others due to a helpless infancy and vulnerable childhood that lasts years beyond any other creature. One of the first things that develop in a human infant's brain is our mirror neurons, those structures that enable us to imitate and learn the expressions and behaviors of others. And when we become adults, this dependency and learning becomes cooperation and sharing and trading and romance and love and friendship, all of which must happen in the context of society, which is what civilization is. One big human family, increasingly becoming one big global human family. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't enjoy pristine nature when we can and preserve and protect it for our own sake, if nothing else. I'm pointing out that life is better today than ever, despite some of the big problems we've created and the challenges we must face and can only overcome together by using our wit, by using reason and our creativity and our invention. If we do overcome them, it won't be by faith in the past or in myths or returning to a primitive state of being or anything else, but by applying that sound reason and science in order to continue our progress. If living in the forest were so much easier and better, why are there so many of us rushing to live together in overcrowded cities? Why, sadly, are there so many homeless people trying to survive on the streets rather than in the woods, in the mountains, under an oak tree, where they can be fed and housed and watered? Let me conclude by citing the words spoken by Barack Obama in 2016 to the people of Greece, where cynicism was born. If you had to choose a moment in history to be born, and you did not know ahead of time who you would be, you didn't know whether you were going to be born into a wealthy family or a poor family, what country you'd be born in, whether you were going to be a man or a woman. If you had to choose blindly what moment you'd want to be born, you would choose now. Thank you.
Please stand. Join me for Wake, Now My Senses, number 298. We'll do verses 1, 3, and 5. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take us your neighbor, both stranger and friend. mystery clear, brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
For the benediction, the words of Thomas More. An enchanted life has many moments when the heart is overwhelmed by beauty and the imagination is electrified by some haunting quality in the world, or by a spirit or voice speaking from deep within a thing, a place, or a person. As mystics of many religions have taught, that sense of rapturous union can give a sensation of fulfillment that makes life purposeful and vibrant. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom.